Hello, hello, hello. It is Tuesday, the 14th of January. We are 14 days into this new year. And how has your first 14 days been? Mine have been pretty good. I cannot complain. They have not been bad. Um, I just wanted to come on. You know how you just see stuff and you feel like you want to make a comment about it? And what is this background? This is a dry cloth out of my kitchen that I had my phone propped up on because the tripod that I have is downstairs. I'm not sure where the little one is. So, yeah, and I'm still trying to finish up work for the day. But let's just say the red of it all. I so wish that people would mature to a point, and this is just my little commentary on taking responsibility for oneself. And I really wish people would mature to a point that they could do that. One of the hardest things you would ever do, as far as I'm concerned, and one of the hardest relationships you will ever have, is the one you have with yourself. Because you can deceive yourself and lie to yourself better than anybody else. You can make yourself feel worse than anybody else. But yet also you can motivate, boost yourself up, and enjoy yourself to the fullest if you choose to. I have found that in this era of time, people don't want to take responsibility for their choices, decisions, and the things they do, and definitely what happens if you make the wrong choice or decision. I keep finding people who will tell me things about their life, but it's always somebody else's fault when things go bad. It's never them that decided, well, I'm going to date this man or woman and they wasn't the right one. Or I was the one that decided maybe I should put all my money into Bitcoins, didn't know what I was doing and lost it. Or maybe I dropped out of college and now years later I'm really regretting it because instead of having a job where I'm making six figures or close to it, I have a job where I'm close to being at the poverty level line. See, it's never their fault. It's everybody else, all the situations and things like that. They can't take responsibility for it. I am a big proponent, probably too much, taking responsibilities for the things you say, do, and the choices you make and decisions you make. I can't blame other people as an adult totally every time for what has happened to me. There may have been situations when you were younger that you were naive and inexperienced and got yourself caught up in something. Okay. But even in that, you would have to say my naivety and inexperience and all that got me caught up. I didn't know, so I made the wrong decision. You still have some accountability on some level. It may not be all of it. If you were young and married the wrong man or woman, on some level, you still have some accountability. Why? Because you didn't have to marry them. You could have waited to see what type of person they were. You could have checked around to hear about what other people might have said, talk to family members more. I mean, there's always something you can do. It's not just the other person's fault. Now, even if you marry a whoremonger like I did, I had no idea the man slept around like he did because that's not the person he showed me. There were some red flags that I ignored because, to be honest, and a lot of this comes from being a woman, the experiences you have and what you know and who you know and what women have poured into you. It is so important as we as women and men to take up our young children, and instead of abusing and neglecting and doing all the things that they do to them, put some knowledge in them about not just book sense, but about life. I didn't have an older woman that poured into me about different scenarios with men. I was out there just running by the seat of my pants. Even at that point, because I was in my early 40s, late 30s, early 40s. Yeah, late 30s, early 40s. And I knew certain type of men, but I didn't know the church men who lied and manipulated and used God as their manipulation tool. I didn't know that. And so it didn't take me long now, mind you, after we were really living together and being married, that something just wasn't right. Because by the end, he was like taking off the mask. I guess he figured, shit, I done married her now. I ain't got to hide no more. And pretty much the mask started coming off. And he even said to me one time that, because I was like, I don't even know who you are. And he was like, he became the man that he felt that I said I wanted. So I didn't even marry the person I really thought I was marrying because he pretended to be the person that he perceived that I wanted. And that's who I thought he was. Now, my culpability in this, I didn't have to get married as soon as I did. I could have taken more time to get to know his side of the family, see what was up, but those people weren't going to tell me that, and I found out years later. They was going to go to their grave with any secrets on that family side. But I could have gone slower. That is for sure. And I could not have bought into the scenario of the South of women need to be married, have their 2.5 children, and move around the corner from their mama and their daddy. I kept having people say, are you married? Are you married? First it was like, are you married? Are you married? I wasn't married. I was in the military, traveling around and all that. And I always thought that was interesting that, I'm tired of holding this phone. Let's see. That's the salad that I had. That's probably not a good crop, is it? That's not gonna stay. Let's see. Not that either. Let's see, I'll use the speaker. Okay, so what are you seeing? The bottom of the Caesar salad that I had with the pizza I had for lunch. Yeah, that is going to be your background. But I would come home on leave, and I always had everybody be like, are you married yet? You have any children yet? And I always be like, no, because I hadn't, and I wouldn't. But they always want to know, why wasn't I married or whatever? Because, all the friend people I graduated with, they had either gotten married right after high school or a little bit after that, because a lot of them had gotten people pregnant, and back then they still married the girl if they got her pregnant. Horrible mistake, because just about every one of them are divorced from those people now. So then when I got out and I moved back here, it was the same thing. Are you married? Do you have children? Blah, 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 blah. Still wasn't. So then when I did get pregnant and I had my son, it was like, are you married? The package still wasn't complete because I didn't have a husband. So when I went to the church, pretty much the same thing, because they promote marriage, And so I just kind of felt pressured because I was getting older and I had not been married. And a lot of that was me buying into the bullcrap, really. So I put the pressure on myself and I got married. To be honest, neither one of us should have been getting married at the time. He was coming out of a marriage and wasn't ready to go into another one because he had not even that's a whole nother story. He wasn't ready. I was going into it not necessarily for the right reasons either. And I really wasn't ready because I, even at that age, had a fairy tale ideal of what marriage was. I thought it was going to be like the movies. And that's not the day in and day out of marriage. It's really not. So when I look over the years that I spent with him, it would be so easy for me to put all the blame on him because he messed around and lied and all the stuff he did. I might not have done those things, but I had my part in the making of the marriage and the demise of the marriage also. So I don't run around if, people want to ask me about being married, whatever the scenario is and the marriage thing comes up. I don't ever tell people it's totally his fault, because it wasn't. It took two of us to make a marriage. It took two of us to break a marriage. He might have been doing what he was doing, but I was also doing what I was doing on my side. So when I hear people say, me and my sister was talking about this, if you ever meet somebody and sometimes you go into your past relationships or whatever, and all they ever say is it was the other person's fault, it was the woman's fault or the man's fault. Every one of their relationships, it was never their fault. And if you say to them, have you ever, been, I guess, dishonest or the bad person in a relationship or whatever you want to call it, and they'll be like, no, as far as they know, they're a good catch and they don't do anything wrong. It's always the other person. Major red flag. Nobody's perfect in a marriage. Nobody. I don't care who they are. And if you've been in a marriage or a long-term relationship or any relationship, whether it's a intimate one such as with a mate or as a friend, you have to take culpability of the part that you play. And when you can't, to me, when I look at you, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, you are so in denial. Because I'm just trying to figure out who you think you are. Because, it's, I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is people need to be mature enough to be able to say that they played a part in the decisions and all the things that happen in one's life. I don't even know why we wouldn't want to. You know what I'm saying? Why wouldn't you want to be honest about who you are, what you've done, and how you've lived your life? Because the only person you're lying to is yourself. And that's the sad part. Other people can lie to you, but when you're lying to yourself, well, that just says a lot. That just really says a lot. That you would go to the extent Okay, so Jeff, oh, you know what, y'all? I'm sorry. I'm trying to do work and okay, I guess. So the point, I'm sorry, I'm trying to do two things at one time, and it doesn't seem to be working well, does it? So I was looking at our buddy. I was like, let me go over here and see if she's done anything interesting that I can bring back to the people and maybe have some comment about. Well, I see that Treasure has had its last days. She is out. And, I'm watching the video and she says that, she didn't want to put the money in the van. But then she goes around and says that the drive shaft or whatever would not have broken off if she had done the maintenance, which we've always said that she didn't do maintenance on the van like she should have. but she was going to try to sell it to people for them to go ahead and buy it, and then you fix the front end or whatever was needed. And I was like, no, nobody. First of all, nobody's probably gonna buy it because she has now stripped it down to its bare bones. It's almost like it looked like somebody came in. You know, you park your car in the wrong place and they come by and they strip it from all the good stuff. It's pretty much an empty shell. So you got an old broken down van that's an empty shell that people got to put a lot of money in. But she took all this stuff out because she's going to try to sell those as individuals. Why not reuse them? Why not reuse the solar panels on the new van, the stove, the refrigerator? And here she's still. See, this just goes to show maturity level in decision making. You're trying to build a new van, but you don't have the money for it. You don't have the resources for it. The resources aren't coming in, and you're begging other people to take care of your own responsibility, for one, okay? And you're a grown-ass woman. But secondly, you do have a ram in the bush, as they would say, because you have a van that you can cannibalize and use off of it stuff to put in the new van. For if your goal is to get back on the road and really do van life, you can go ahead and do that. Okay, what did you do here? And yeah, you could go ahead and do that. And you wouldn't have to spend so much money, now would you? No, you wouldn't. So, her not being wise in her decision making has put her in a deficit, because you could take the solar panels, put them on the new one, take the stove, put it in there, take the refrigerator, put it in there, and then she had the nerve to be sitting there saying, well, it's not the right color, but maybe I could take the one out of the shed and paint it gold. Girl, you done painted everything else in the tiny shack. And we know you done spray painted everything over in the tin can. So you might as well go ahead and spray paint this. Yeah, like she can't. All of a sudden, because you've upgraded to a newer van, you act like you can't put stuff from the old van in there. You start with what you got. When you started with Treasure, you ain't had shit. You didn't mind. You was out there digging in dumpsters and everything else to get what you needed. But now all of a sudden, you done got too good for doing scavenging to find what you need. Reuse that stuff until you can afford to upgrade. That's what people do. That's what mature, smart people do. You look around, see what you have, and see how you can utilize it to the best of your ability. You don't go out here expecting other people to foot the bill for what it is that you want. You want to live the van life. So, who should pay for the van life? If that's what you want to do. You should. You should pay for the life that you want. If I want to live a life of luxury, should I get on YouTube and beg for you all to buy me a luxury car, a boat, some trips, all that kind of stuff? Or do I work hard or figure out whatever I need to do, invest, I don't know, sell some stuff, whatever, to get the lifestyle that I want? I would say that it would be up to me. But, you know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. And she working Miss Charlene to death, working her like a dog to do all that stuff. I found it ironic that, you know, that all broke down because, you know, she would say that the things that happen to people is because of them talking about her. But I'm wondering if the things that happen to her is because she's been out here doing these story times talking about other people. Now, she swears to her story time, she don't talk about nothing but her life. And she told somebody, somebody questioned her about her son, and she said she would never discuss him. Why? You can get on there and tell everybody else how they need to raise their children, but you won't discuss motherhood, about you being a mother and motherhood. Interesting to me. Also, you talk about your mama like a do-dirty dog. That's telling somebody else's life. You got on here and did a 2-part series about your mom supposedly sleeping with her uncle. That was pretty crappy. But you did it. And that was her life. And if it did happen, guess whose story that was to tell? Guess whose story it wasn't to tell, for them to tell? You. But you felt like it was okay. So, if you put out here that you're a mother and people don't ever hear you talk about your son, don't ever see you show pictures of him or whatever, yeah. You know, so my thing is this. If you don't put stuff out here, you know what I mean? If you don't put stuff out here, then maybe you won't get questioned about it. And when you've decided you got an opinion about everybody else, they're going to have an opinion about you, for sure. For sure. So maybe in all this that you got going on, maybe you shouldn't talk about your mama. You know? Maybe you should just either work on that relationship quietly outside of YouTube and tell her your feelings. Or if you got to do it, you can just talk about it without, you can talk about your feelings without talking about the extra stuff you put in there about her. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. That's just my take on it. I could be wrong, but, you know, sometimes we can speak ourselves into a situation. So, you know, you spoke, you had your say, and, yeah, maybe, just maybe, some of the comments should be kept to a minimum of what you want to say about her. Because the Bible does tell us, you know, to respect our parents if we want to live a long life. So I'm just saying. I'm just saying, peoples. You know? So I just wanted to get on here because she always shows a great example of what not to do in a situation. And laying up in courtside begging ain't gonna get it. And like I say again, she might find some favor. Wouldn't it be awesome that if you gave your van, even as is, to somebody else that needed a van, and they may know somebody that will fix up the van for them because they have no transportation, like a single parent mom or dad or somebody like that. If somebody on your channel may see you do a good deed and they do a good deed to you. Never happened, Captain. She's still busy trying to figure out how to sell stuff. So, You know, closed hand never can receive because it ain't giving and it ain't receiving. You really have to look at how you live your life and what you do and how you treat other people. Whether it's the ones that live in the home with you or the people outside the home. All right. I just wanted to come on here and say a little bit, and this is something that I've been meaning to do since I talked about it, because I actually found this when I was putting the seasonings in the cabinet, and I was like, ooh, I just talked about this. Let's see if I can get it to show up. Okay. This may be something that somebody may need. Okay. It's actually showing blurry. Let's see. There we go. You see that? Now look at my finger next to that. That is a mustard seed. That is, let's see if I put it in my hand. Ooh, child, I need a lotion here. Excuse, and I actually put something on there, but I wash my hands a lot. But this is, okay, and now it's gone. But here they are. Maybe y'all see Parker down there. This is the size of the mustard seeds, and the Bible says that's all the amount of faith that you need. I'm trying to make sure I'm not on my computer. To be able to have God work in your life. That little bit of faith. So, whatever you may have going on today, and when you look at Miss Ma'am's videos, don't fall into the trap. Don't believe the bull crap. Don't believe the negatives and the downtrodden and all that stuff. If you have been delivered and set free from the things that you say you have, you should be rejoicing every day because you're no longer bound and shackled, as they would say. But if you have that small, teeny, tiny, eeny, weeny bit of faith, things can move in your life. I was trying to explain that to my son yesterday. He's having a kind of rough season. And I was trying to explain to him that mom can only do so much. In life can be like a roller coaster. You're up, you're down, you're up, you're down. You're having a good season, a bad season, a good season. But one thing you can say, the season does not last forever. It lasts for a period of time, and then it moves into something else. So what seems stressful that you just can't figure out any solution for right now, may be taken care of tomorrow, this afternoon, next month, or next year. But the one thing you can do, instead of seeking advice from man and how to handle things, and that's what I've been trying to show him ever since I decided that we both needed to get into a relationship with God back when he was 5 or 6, was that the one place you can always go and you can get an answer to your situation is bending your knees and getting before the Lord. I tell people this all the time. I don't think they believe me because of the person I am. I don't know. But I seek God on a lot of things. I may seek God on a parking space. Or if I'm having some financial entanglement, seek him on that. Or some health stuff, seek him on that. Relationship, whatever the case may be. Why? Because he is the creator of all things. He is the Alpha and Omega. He knows the beginning, the middle, and the end. So, of course, he will have the answer. He may not give me the answer straight out, but he will point me in the right direction and give me hints and pieces of what it is I need to know for me to get to where I need to go or make the right decision. But people don't want to do that. They find it so hard to bend their knees, bow their head, and ask God to help them. Well, the Bible says that it's going to come a point where everybody is going to bend their knees. And I tell you today, man cannot solve all your problems, and neither can you. So I would suggest, if you're going through any type of issue and it's just the beginning of the year, learn how to pray. And it's nothing fancy or eloquent or whatever. It's a conversation with the Lord. You can talk just like I'm talking, because that's how I talk to God. He already knows me. Why am I dress it up and be all fancy? He knows the inside, the outside. If he knows how many hairs I have on my head, of course he knows me. So you just need to get to the nitty gritty and say, Lord, I done mucked up. I've gone plenty of times be like, yeah, I ain't listened to you when you told me to go left and I went right. But can you still see a way to help me get out of this situation? I know I'm going to have to pay some of the consequences on this, but please don't let me have to bear it all. Can I get a little reprieve? I promise I'll learn this time. And then I might come back and be like, I know I said I was going to learn that time, and I didn't, because God already knows. So if I could leave you with anything today, remember, that's as large as you need your faith to be. That teeny, teeny, tiny mustard seed faith. And hopefully as you see God work in your life, it will continue to grow and grow and grow. All right, people. Ooh, I have been on here for 31 minutes. Let me get off of here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful Tuesday. It is nice and sunshiny. I'm trying to make sure I don't get my computer. Nice and sunshiny out here today. So I might take Parker for a quick little walk before I go pick up my grandson. He acted so crazy yesterday. I don't know if I want to walk him today. We'll see. All right, guys. Talk to you later. Bye.